So I hope you found that workbook in the last clip quite insightful if you have now got into the habit of applying these ideas to yourself. I think one of the main lessons I learned probably when I re-entered education around about the age of 29, 30, I was quite a late starter in life. It took me round about to the age of 29 to realise that I actually didn't want to keep on pursuing the path that I'd been pursuing up until that stage of my life. I'd spent many years from the age of 17, I joined the army until the age of 24 when I left the army. And between the ages of 24 to 30, working in various sales, business, marketing, business development roles. And whilst I'd done very, very well in these areas, I didn't find any fulfillment in them. All right. And to be honest with you, it was kind of like I was always striving to fill a void. Like there was this void in me and I just didn't know what it was. Kind of like this itch that I couldn't scratch. I don't know if you can relate. All right. So that was pretty much what led me to start studying the various helping modalities, including cognitive behavioral therapy, but also counselling back then. So what you'll find is that in training courses like this, yes, I'm going to share with you primarily a cognitive behavioral therapy framework, but I will build in ideas from other helping modalities to really help you to maximise your learning experience, to really not just understand these ideas, but understand them from multiple perspectives, if that makes sense. So here I want to share with you an overview of cognitive behavioral therapy, because sometimes a picture can paint 1,000 words, can't it? And we all learn differently, don't we? Going back when I was a child, I was diagnosed as being dyslexic. All right, now these days, the word dyslexic has been removed from the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. That's the book where most general practitioners and mental health professionals get all their terms for all the various mental health conditions that are going about today. But dyslexic isn't a term that's used anymore. But back around about 32 years ago, it was commonly used. And if you were branded dyslexic, well, children can be so cruel sometimes in school. So I used to get bullied. I used to get called dummy. I used to get called stupid and thicket and things like that. And it wasn't because I was thick. It wasn't because I was stupid. Although back then I did go to doubt myself a little bit. I just actually had a very different learning style from many other people. But back then, learning styles as a topic wasn't something that was really understood in common teaching circles. So today we understand that people learn in different ways. Some people learn visually through images or pictures or diagrams, or through experiencing something through their eyes, through seeing is believing. Other people learn auditorially, right? Just through listening to information, working the information out inside of their head as they relate that which they're hearing to that which they already know. Then they build upon the ideas and the beliefs and the worldviews that they already have. But then other people learn most effectively kinesthetically, all right? Kinesthetically. And this is when we get a real feel for something. Now, many training organisations around the world, this is where they fail, especially those training organisations who are just delivering information, whose training courses are just for the purpose of training information, regurgitating ideas, rather than delivering insight, all right? In order to learn kinesthetically, we've got to get a feel for what's actually being said, which sometimes means that we need to be engaged with auditorially, through spoken word, visually, through images, but we also want to be engaged with on an emotional level as well, so we can get a real feel for an idea or a principle that's being presented to us. All right. So this is what I want to do here: give you an overview of cognitive behavioral therapy, so you kind of now start to get a real clear picture and adjust of what this helping modality is all about. I've shared a few ideas up until now. If we went back a few clips ago, let me go back and just remind you, not that one. You remember that one? It was not that one. It was in fact this one. Cognitive behavioral therapy is an action-orientated form of psychotherapy that assumes that unproductive or unhelpful thinking patterns cause unproductive behavior and undesired negative emotions. So, moving forward, back to where we were at here. All right? What we're saying is that emotions don't stand alone in isolation. They don't enter our lives. We cannot contract them. We can't catch them, all right? We can't catch stress as an illness or as a condition, for example, all right? All our emotions are just simply responses to the quality of our thinking. Now, this is not common cultural. It's not a cultural way of looking at ourselves or looking at life, all right? Hence the reason that CBT has been deemed as being one of the most effective forms of therapy in helping by the psychologies and the psychiatric movement over the last 30 to 40 years. So I think one of the main reasons for this is because it's solution focused, all right? Now, if you think about it, if every cause has an effect, and if a problem is an effect, well, all we then simply need to understand is the cause of the effect, and this then means that if we can change or make modifications in the cause, then we can get a whole new effect, which then comes about as a solution. Solution focused. All right. Many forms of therapy today focus on helping people feel better. Cognitive behavioral therapy, yes, it can help people feel better, but it's fundamentally about enabling people to grow in maturity, in insight, in responsibility, in decisiveness, and in strength of character, right? Which is quite different. All right, remember, it's not so much just what we do sometimes that makes the greatest impact. It's sometimes the reason why we're doing what we're doing that can go on to really promote the outcomes that we want to see happen. So, an overview of cognitive behavioral therapy. First things first, we're focused on solutions, not problems. All right. Now, I remember when I was training in counselling, in therapeutic counselling, one of the parts of my training was I had to undergo, I think it was 10 or 12 counselling sessions. Now, to be honest with you, because I had done so much work on myself back then, I found it quite difficult to engage with a counsellor I was working with. Now, he was also trained in CBT, but what became quite apparent quite quickly was that this guy seemed absolutely hell-bent on finding a problem in my life, or a dysfunction, or a deficit in some way. And it's kind of like he kept on asking me about my relationship with my parents. Now, granted, I didn't have a perfect relationship with my parents, same as every other person in the face of the planet, all right? But he kept on going there. It was like he was looking for some hurt wound. He was off the mindset that human beings are broken, that we're broken people and that we need healed. And to be honest with you, this really conflicted with my own worldview, the way in which, I like to look at human beings. I hate to look at human beings, my fellow man and woman, as being broken. Why? Because no one's broken. The only problem that many people have in life is in their understanding of just how unbroken they actually are. I mean, if you think about it, there's two ways of looking at life, isn't there? There's one that people are broken and they need fixed, or there's one that, people are fully whole, just perhaps don't quite understand themselves as effectively as what they otherwise could. One way of thinking, one way of looking at life leads people to live completely disempowered lives, dependent and in need of a saviour, someone to come along and fix them, which is pretty much what much of the personal development, self-improvement world centres itself around. But then the second way of thinking and looking at life is that people are whole, just sometimes need a little bit of guidance in helping them to fully understand themselves and how unbroken they actually are. Well, this can lead people to live empowered and strong and powerful lives, decisive lives, proactive lives, productive lives, effective lives. No one wants to live ineffectively, but yet many people do. So it's imperative that we get clear on what our priority is. And this is where I shared with you, those 3 different levels of impact back in the 3rd video of the course. What level of impact do you want to make? Because, you kind of have a choice here. You can be the kind of person that heals people, which is probably around about 70% of the various psychologies today, people who genuinely position themselves as healers, as people who are gurus of people. And you can fix people's feelings and make people's nasty feelings go away and things like that. Or you can be the kind of person who's actually committed to the process of enabling other human beings to grow and mature in responsibility and decisiveness and consistency and strength of character, all right? Actually help people grow. So we're talking about helping people now become better rather than just simply feel better, which means that we need to be solution focused all of the time. What's the deficit? What's the void? What's the problem? What's the issue? Because once we know what we're working with, it's then just a case of establishing some goals and encouraging and working with our clients until they start taking action steps towards that which they want more of and away from that which they don't want. So everything must be client orientated. And again, this is another common problem that I've identified over the years. And this is that sometimes many forms of therapy become therapist-centered. For example, the counsellor that I worked with, he was coming from an agenda to heal me, to fix me. He was of the belief, the mindset that I was broken, that I needed fixed, and that he was going to be my fixer, which actually left me quite frustrated by about session 5 or 6, to the point where I just used some of my own counselling skills, one in particular called immediacy, and I said, it feels like you're trying to fix something here in me. It feels like you're looking down on me, like you're of the mindset that I'm broken in some way. And then the conversation pretty much turned around, and we identified that he actually has this deeply ingrained need to fix and help people. So what was a counselling session, he was meant to be my counsellor, I ended up practicing all my cognitive behavioural therapy skills on him, all right? So what a funny little turnaround that was. But here's the thing. When our goal is client wholeness, client progress, client effectiveness, client maturity, clients taking greater depths of responsibility for themselves, then we've always got to be focused on solutions. We've got to be identifying any unhelpful thought patterns that are standing in their way, that are holding them back, any habits that they're operating out of. We understand that clients' moods are going to change pretty much all of the time. And as CBT practitioners, our role isn't to respond to the moods. It's to actually find the cause of the moods, all right? And we do this collaboratively. Because unless we are finding the cause of the mood, which is generally always going to be an unhelpful thought pattern, we might find it difficult to identify where the source of the emotions are coming from, which is why some people find themselves in a place of emotional inconsistency in life. Now, this is generally going to be people's vicious cycle. I don't know if you can relate. Have you ever found yourself or felt sometimes that there's an area in your life or some areas in your life where you're just going round and round in circles, and it doesn't matter how hard you work, it doesn't matter how hard you try, it doesn't matter what you try to change, things just remain the same. Now, going back to 2006, I'd left the military back in 2004, and I'd gone through the 2 years of military transition, and I was confused. Right? I was lost. I'd left a very, very large part of my life behind in this transition. I was confused. I didn't know who I was. I was struggling with all sorts of emotions that were just completely out of control. I felt anxious most of the time about my future. I felt really sad and depressed because I'd left my military family behind. So yes, the doctors had said to me, Kane, you are depressed, you are anxious. I felt anxious, I felt depressed, but these moods were changeable. Sometimes I was feeling anxious, sometimes I was feeling depressed, sometimes I was feeling stressed. Some days I was just absolutely all over the place. And I thought to myself back then, right, if I change my geographical location and just move country, go for a fresh start, then my life will change. And this is an approach that many people take to life, making extreme changes in their lifestyle, thinking that that's going to change a vicious cycle in their life. So I ended up buying a one-way ticket moving to Australia. And when I got off the plane, old anxiety came back, and here I was in a new country. I didn't know anyone, with the same problems that I'd had just a week or so earlier. And here's the thing. Breaking a vicious circle in our life isn't about always breaking a habit. It's not always about changing what we do, or changing some pattern of behaviour or something like that. It's sometimes, more often than not, about changing a limiting belief or a way of thinking that we have about ourselves or about other people or about how life should be. All right? Nothing stands alone in isolation. Thoughts, feelings, beliefs, actions, behaviors, they're all completely tied into one. And this is an idea that we really must understand as cognitive behavioral therapists. All right? And we must remain present-centered all of the time. If you think about it, many people get stuck in life focused on the future, don't they? And when we focus on the future, well, we feel angst sometimes, or we might feel fear, or we might feel excited. Sometimes some people get stuck in this way of thinking, the grass is going to be greener on the other side of the fence. Like, when I get there, life will be better when I get there. If I can just change this about my life, then my life will be better. And it's kind of like some people go through life chasing this carrot that they never, ever get any closer to actually reaching. It's kind of like life's always going to be better at some point in the future, but life's never okay right now in the present. And this is why CBT must be present-centered, because all that we ever have in life is right now. And the greatest problem that a client ever has, or the greatest problem that a client ever brings to us, is never going to be a circumstance. It's not even a behavior or a habit. The greatest problems that our clients will come to us with is always just going to simply be an emotional reaction or response to a situation that they're working through, i.e. a feeling is how they feel. Think about it. When we feel happy, all right? When you're feeling happy, have you got a problem? Of course you don't. How about when you're feeling just calm and at peace? You got a problem? No, of course you don't. How about when you're feeling indifferent about something? You don't have a problem. How about when you feel a little bit shocked? Oh, you feel a little bit shocked about something. This might be a bit of a problem, especially if this shock is you not getting your expectations met. How about you don't have your expectations met, then you start to feel a little bit sad? Or, even sadder, or perhaps if you then start feeling totally depressed because you never got your expectations met, well, then you're going to have a problem. And what I'm saying is, more often than not, people only ever have a problem in life when they feel that they have a problem. The greatest problem that people have is just how they feel on a moment-by-moment basis. Remember, moods are changeable. Feelings come, feelings go. So our role as CBT practitioners, as cognitive behavioral therapists, is actually to help people self-regulate and manage themselves, to help them understand the connection between the quality of their thinking and the quality of their emotional experience on a moment-by-moment basis. Because when we understand this, it means that we can better manage ourselves. If we are feeling a feeling that we don't want to feel, panic or stress or angst or fear or anger or rage or something like that, they're just emotions that we've experienced in response to a pattern of thought that we previously committed to. So guess what? If we can change and modify the pattern of thinking, we can consequentially change the emotional experience. This is a big idea, but it's the idea that CBT as a practice has been built and based on. All right. Now, this only happens collaboratively. Here's the thing. Many clients, now I've had clients before in the past come to me and they say, Kane, I'm broken, fix me, heal me, change me. I remember having one client, a lady in her mid to late 40s, who came along and she got really angry at me one day and she says, Kane, you're not making me feel any better. And I responded, I said, but my role's not to make you feel any better. All right? Who has a problem with the feelings here? Whose feelings are they? Whose emotions are they? I can see you're quite angry right now. Who owns this anger? Is it me or is it you? And she kind of got herself all flustered. And I said, who is this emotion living inside of? This anger, is it me or is it you? And she says, it's me. And I said, therefore, who's responsible for the feeling? Is it me or is it you? And she said, well, if it lives inside of me, it's probably me. I says, exactly, so I can't change your emotions, can I? And she said, no. I says, but I can say some things that are going to get you thinking differently about your emotions. And she said, oh, I can see how you've just done that. Oh, so if I can think about things differently, then I might feel different. And Bingo, that's all CBT is. Now, there's a bit more to it than this, which we're going to really unpack in the videos that follow, but this is just to give you an overview of what it is that we're wanting to achieve, all right? How we want to understand ourselves first and foremost, because how well we understand ourselves will determine how effectively we go on to understand and relate to other people. Everything that we're doing is solution focused. We're not here to fix anyone. We're not here to heal anyone. We cannot change anyone's emotions. Anyone who says that they can is a liar. People change how they feel by regulating their own thought patterns. All right. So all of our work must be client orientated, focused on them, on their goals, on their outcomes, what they want to accomplish, not on our own agenda. And we're always going to be living right in the present, not working towards the better days that are yet to come. And we're certainly not going to spend our time focused on all the woes and all the sob stories and all the hurts in the past. Why? Because what we focus on in life tends to determine how we feel on a minute by minute basis. So this is big picture, big overview that we'll look forward to unpacking in the videos that follow.